first video of our normal lectures. Part A, Overview and Concepts. Part 8.1, Three-Tier Architecture. In this video, I want to describe this most popular architecture used in web technologies. All right. So first, let me just give you the basic overview on this architecture. Three tiers. So from the name, you can see we should have three different layers. So let's look at each one. All right. So for the web application architecture, so what's that? So that's basically the structure of the general web, how to arrange different web technologies in an organized way. So we call that kind of thing architecture, because you need to arrange different components, different technologies, different locations, that kind of well-organized arrangement. So that one, we call it architecture. All right, so here, look at this picture. In this picture, so you can see, first, from the structure, three layers. The first one, this one. So you can see client layer. The second one, after that, so you see this internet, this cloud shape. So we do not call it a layer, because, the internet is there, right? We call it infrastructure. Okay, people just use that infrastructure to do data services. So then we go to the next part. This is the second layer. So here you can see server layer. So a lot of components arranged in this layer. Then the third layer, storage layer. Storage layer. Here you can see we store data in this layer, database, store the data. So you can see the small symbol notation you can see here, RDBMS, okay? Relational Database Management System, okay? So we call it, so this part, relational database management system. All right, so that part, layer number 3. All right, so let us look at each layer. All right, the first one, client tier. Tier, layer, same thing. Client tier. So client, so you know the meaning of the client, right? The client machine. The user use the client machines to access the server-side services. Client tier. People also called presentation tier. So why presentation? So you can see, because the business data is presented in this layer. All right, so the client, when they request some specific business service from the server, so the server will return the business data for that service. Then the business data should be presented in a special way at the client side. So that's why people also call it presentation layer. So you can see the client side technology, web technologies, mainly used for presentation. Here you can see from this little words, you can see HTML. Yeah, so here, let me just write, clearly. HTML technology for presentation, the content of the data. CSS. So another presentation technology used for the format, style of the data. Okay, yeah. So make the presentation looks better. Yeah, look better. Yeah. All right. Then another important technology for presentation, JavaScript. JavaScript, you can write JavaScript functions, code. You use it to manipulate data. So you can make the data dynamic. So not static, dynamic data presentation. So then it will make your presentation, supporting more features. Yeah. All right. So then web browser, yeah, and operating system of the client machines. Yeah. All right. So that's the first layer. The second layer, middle layer, sit in the middle, middle layer. And we also call it business tier. Yeah. Middle tier, business tier, or layer. Yeah. Because this side, so that's the, main part that people do the business. Yeah. The server side, people do the business here. Yeah. And for this class, we will spend 90% of our time learning technologies in this part. Yeah, so that's our main focus for this class, approximately 90%. Yeah, so you can see, yeah. And here, many different technologies, but at this point, I do not need to specify. Yeah, so we will learn one by one. Yeah, so that's a long list. Yeah. All right. So then the last tier, data access tier, and we will use relational database management system. Yeah. So for this class, we will use, MySQL database, MySQL database. Okay, yeah, and more specifically, because this course is for Java, so we use the Java JDBC database technology connect to MySQL. Yeah. All right. So then that's the simple description of the three-tier architecture. Yeah. But there is a more advanced version for this three-tier architecture. Yeah. This one. So this picture gives us more advanced. Yeah. Still three-tier architecture, right? So here you can see tier number one at the right-hand side. You look at the right-hand side. Then internet, so we skip this internet part. Then the middle layer, you can see there are two blocks. Okay, yeah. The first block we call the web server. Web server, yeah. But the second block we call the application server. So they are different. Yeah. So you will see the difference in a minute. Yeah. Then the last layer, data access layer. Yeah. But for detailed description of this diagram, I want to leave to our second video, the end of the second video. So at that time, when we have a little more background knowledge, so then I describe, how data transmit among different layers in more details at that time. So we can understand better. Yeah, but because here it's a little early. Yeah. So then for the, middle tier here, I like to look at the middle tier. So why there are 2 blocks in the middle tier? Yeah. The reason is very simple, because when we need to do some advanced data processing work, then we need a more advanced server called an application server. That's the more advanced server. So here we have 2 types of servers in the middle tier. The first one, web server. Okay, web server. So web servers usually it provides basic features. Relatively simple basic features. But the application server, then it will usually it provides many large number of advanced features. So very sophisticated, very powerful, heavyweight. Probably we can call this type heavyweight. Okay, yeah. Heavyweight. All right, yeah. So this one, lightweight. Lightweight. The difference. Yeah. Heavyweight and a lightweight. The main difference between these 2 different types of servers. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So next, let me describe client-server communication model. Yeah. All right. This picture describes client-server communication model. So you can see client side on the left-hand side, then server machine on the right-hand side, and you use some network, connect them. Then you do request response between client and the server. Here, let me describe the whole procedure, how to make one communication between client and the server. First, how to start a communication cycle between client and server. So here, the client requests a connection to a server. Client start the communication cycle with a request. Send a request to the server, asking for a connection, waiting for response from the server. Okay? Yeah. How to submit a request, we will see soon. Yeah. In the next diagram, we will see that. Yeah. So then the server side, after the server receives that request, connection request, the server needs to make the decision, accept it or reject it. Yeah. 2 possibilities, yeah. Accept or rejection. Yeah. Because sometimes for some security concern, the server needs to reject requests from some of the locations. Yeah. So let's say locations. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Next, let us assume a connection is accepted. Yeah. That connection is accepted. So then there is a concrete connection established between client and server. Yeah. Now we can talk about, data communication between those 2 sides. Yeah. All right. So then the server establishes and maintains the connection with the client. Okay. So, some detailed work. Yeah. Here we do not get into it. Yeah. All right. So then server, after it completes some data processing work, some necessary, business related work. So the server returns a response to the client, the business data related to the requested business service. Yeah. All right, so return to the client. Then, after that, the server disconnects the connection immediately. Yeah. So the connection is disconnected. Okay? Yeah. Why? Yeah. So you may ask, why disconnected, right? Yeah. The reason is very simple. Yeah. To save resource. Yeah. To save resource. Yeah. Because connection between client and server, that connection occupies resource, memory resource, more specifically, memory resource, the computer memory resource. Okay? So if the server does not disconnect it, then that resource is occupied. Think about it. Typically, many clients need to connect to the same server, right? If too many clients occupy a lot of memory resources of the server machine, then the server would be running slower and slower. Too slow, response time too long, so that's not good, right? So in order to improve the overall performance, as soon as the business data is returned, then immediately disconnect the connection, the previous communication cycle, that connection. Disconnected so that the resource is released. So that resource can be used to provide services for other clients. So that kind of architecture, so we just call the mechanism, right? Yeah. How things work in that way, efficient way. All right. Yeah. So here, so this is just, another way to write the communication cycle. Yeah. Because in this diagram, you can see the client machine, HTTP client, send a request, but that request needs to go through multiple machines on the network, internet, the big network, goes through, many different machines on the internet. And then the destination is this HTTP server. Then the return response also takes that similar way. Yeah. When you send the business data back, you also need to go through multiple machines in the network, in the internet. Yeah. Like a relay, yeah. So that's the whole system is designed in this way. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So in this way, so you can get a, more precise description of the whole structure on the computers, how they work together on the internet. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So that for this class, we do not touch many detailed communication related techniques. So we do not touch that part. Yeah. So we focus on the high level communication. Okay. So more specifically, we focus on the communication using HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol. So the high level protocol, not low level. Okay. Low level, for example, so there is that TCP IP Yeah, so that's the low-level protocol. Yeah. So we do not touch that. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that. Yeah. So we focus on the high-level HTTP protocol. Yeah. So later I will provide you the detailed information related to HTTP protocol. Yeah. If you do not understand those properties, then it's very hard to understand the Java web technologies. Yeah. All right. So here, another diagram before we finish this video. So let's look at another question here. Yeah, the last question. How to start a request at the client side? Yeah, I mentioned this before. Yeah, here, let me give you the answer. How to start a request from the client side. So very easy, very easy. So look at here, step one. In a web browser, a user just type URL for one particular server. So you type that, okay? Then you hit enter, then the browser will send a request to that server. Request to that server, okay? Yeah. Although there are several steps behind the scene, yeah, but here at this point, I may not like to touch that. Yeah. Later, when I have a chance, I may probably talk about things happen behind the scene. Yeah, I hope I can find some chance to talk about that. Yeah, but here you just know when a user types URL for one server, hit enter, that the request is sent through the browser. The browser will do that. Okay, send the request to the server. Then the server will return a response back to you. Yeah, so that's simple. Okay, all right. So here you can see this picture, this diagram tells you so that simple procedure. Yeah. All right. So let me just finish our first video right here. In the next video, so let me provide you a little more information. Okay. Mainly the next video, I want to focus on the server-side architecture. Yeah, mainly for server-side architecture. Yeah, because the other sides relatively easier, right? The client side, pretty easy. Yeah, data access tier also pretty easy, right? So the main part we need to focus. So that is the server side. All right, so let's do that in our last video of this lecture.